Absolute Batman Arkham Special Issue 1, Scott Snyder and Frank Thierry writing with Josh Hickson on the art. So yeah, very curious about this. And to be fair, the only other like one-shot special we've had from the Absolute Universe, which was Absolute Power, was fantastic. So I wasn't necessarily going in thinking, oh, this will be as good as that, but I still like was like, yo, this could be a very important issue. Like the last one felt like it was super like a big deal and felt like an important cog in like following the ongoing events of the Absolute line. And I think this does kind of, not maybe to the same extent because it's more focused particularly in the Batman corner, but it does feel like an important part of the lore, which is that there was an Arkham Asylum. This issue follows the story of Amadeus Arkham, who did build an asylum after his mother shot the soldier from the Civil War. That I think it was Civil War. Was it the Civil War?
Yeah, Civil War. So yeah,
they mentioned the Union.
It sets it up that so that they set it up that he was born right before the Civil War started, and his dad got stationed. He fought for the Union, and after the war had ended, there were still a couple skirmishes, and his dad was involved in one that didn't need to happen.
Yeah. So
when the Union soldier comes to tell mom he's died. Mom snaps.
It's a useless death. Yeah, it's a death that didn't need to happen because it was after the like was it Lee or whoever it was had already surrendered. I don't know American history. A bunch of stuff happened.
You know what? You know it better than some people that are in charge over here, Pete. So I commend you for that.
So yeah, she snaps, grabs this soldier's gun and just shoots him, and then turns to her children, shoots two of them. But when she gets to Amadeus, she for some reason just decides not to and shoots herself instead. And he like, well, I'll never know why I was spared that day, but. Talk about a dark start to your story, for this kid.
So this is where, so I've met Scott Snyder a couple times, and he's like the world's sweetest man when you talk to him. But when he gets to tell stories based on American history, like this, American Vampire, some of the other deep, dark stuff that he's worked on, that man has a darkness to him. And let's hope he always stays the nice, sweet man that he is. Because good Lord, I was not ready this to happen in the first 5 pages.
Yeah, and from there it's like, okay, so he's an orphan now, he grows up, he has one goal, he wants to build an asylum for people, to help people who were like his mother. Maybe he could have helped and stopped his mother doing what she did if he could find her help. So that's his goal. So he raises the money somehow, he builds Arkham Asylum, it's a real place that exists, and he talks about all the different types of patients that they would get. And two key things that are happening here is, one, he's relaying a lot of this to, well, he's writing it in his journal, but he's talking to someone that he's shown around the building because he's selling it off because it's run down now and no one uses it. And that's kind of like a framing device we keep coming back to. But then in the actual story of him running the asylum, it talks about how he got all the worst patients that the rest of Gotham didn't want. And also this idea that he ended up kind of taking in a kid who ended up here without anyone to look after him, and he kind of became a father figure to this child. So those are the two main big things that are happening in the story. And then, of course, the other big thing is that when he's talking about the patients, he starts talking about this one that was especially disturbing, one who was really sadistic, the one who would laugh in the dark. And I'm like, okay, where are we going with this? Like, I feel like we're setting stuff up here.
And this character is drawn very Joker aesthetic, right? He's gaunt, he's white, like not pale white, right? But his hair is kind of greenish. There's a green and purple tinge to him. And they're definitely making you think of what we think of as Joker, you know?
Yeah, he never gives the name of who it is. He says, I'll just call him Jack Doe for the purpose of this journal. And he also straight up says it later on, he thinks this man went on to be Jack the Ripper. Like, once he escaped, he believes this became Jack the Ripper.
Yeah. Because we learn on early that Amadeus Arkham also had written this book about, he knew who Jack the Ripper was, right? So when the Jack the Ripper killing started happening over in England, he wrote a book surmising that he knew who it was, and that we're assuming that it's this Jack Doe. Something had happened down the line.
Yeah, this is actually not the first time there's been a link potentially between Joker and Jack the Ripper. I believe that Gotham by Gaslight also dabbled into that territory. So...
Yes, but not in the way that you would think. I don't want to spoil it for people.
Oh, sure.
But yes, there are things, but there is a twist on Jack the Ripper when
that's
you get there.
Fair.
And Gotham by Gaslight.
So the thing here is that obviously they're telegraphing this idea that this Jackdaw is the man who becomes, like, somehow he's, I mean, obviously the age is a bit weird, but like somehow he's still alive, and maybe he's the Joker. He's this man who does not laugh in present day. But the big twist here is that when he orchestrates an escape, and because he knows that Amadeus cares about this boy, this child that's been going around with him, he seemingly has kidnapped him. But the big reveal in the present day part of the story, and again, the present day part of the story here is still set in the past compared to the rest of the Absolute stuff, is that this guy who's like getting shown around the place and asking questions and all that, he whispers something to him that really disturbs him, and it's the thing that the kid used to always say to him, you know, tomorrow's a new page, or something to that effect. And he goes down and like takes the bricks out of the wall, because like, I mean, they knocked down some bricks to escape when Jackdaw orchestrated this whole escape plan years ago, but there's like 2 places that have been patched up with bricks. What's the other one? And he goes in there thinking that he's going to find the body, like the decomposed body of this child. But the twist of the issue is that it's actually Jackdaw who's been stabbed behind that wall for years. And the reveal is that the child has grown up. Like, he's the one who's killed Jackdaw and has grown up to become Jack Grimm. He is the Joker in this universe. Which I was like, okay, all right. Like, this idea that he maybe took some lessons from this guy, but he was actually way more sick in the head than this Jackdaw actually was.
Because he gained his trust and stabbed him with a pointed toothbrush, which is what, you know, they had claimed that Jackdaw had done to the rest of the people. But it turns out it was the kid that orchestrated the breakout. And he finds a note that says tomorrow's a new page, and just that realization, right? It's a Usual Suspects realization, the way that it's paced out, the slow reveal that Arkham's like, oh no. I thought that was really well handled. Also, the way that the kid shows up and he's covered in blood. When you go back and think about it, you're just like, oh no, he wasn't the victim here. He did the victimizing. You know, that's why he was covered in blood.
And when he does find this body and there's like a teddy bear with it, he throws it in the furnace and it starts a fire and it burns down Arkham Asylum. That's why it's not there anymore. And you see the man, you know, who only laughs in the dark, as he's now been called in this issue, smiling at the fire. And we cut to seemingly present day in the Absolute Universe. But now it literally says now, actually. It does literally say that. He's got a photograph or a painting on his wall of the burning Arkham Asylum just up there in his office. And I thought, oh, damn, like, this idea of this is a part of his past and something that he's, been all about. And then there's a little bit at the end where he's like, he's talking to someone about keeping eyes on this Batman character and like, oh, he's no threat to you. That's, you know, send me in. And he's like, no, it's not time for you yet. And then the reveal is that he's talking to his Deathstroke. Absolute Deathstroke's revealed here at the end of the book. So that's what we're building up to. We also tease a bunch of other villains that we've not seen yet. Basically experiments in the Arc M, or if not the M building, then maybe the Arc, whatever, other ones that he's got.
Yeah. Yeah, we got Langstrom, Isley, Hugo Strange, which I think is a weird one being there because you don't associate him with being on that side.
Oh, sure, but I mean, who knows? I mean, this Joker is like kind of taking a lot of what Hugo Strange normally is because he's doing the experiment. So yeah, we'll see what Hugo Strange in the Absolute Universe is like. If he's like, I don't know, like
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah,
but yeah, they got Jonathan Crane, Basil Carlo, and Jervis Tetch, and then. The two after, we see that paperwork that come up on there, and there's the Isley biome and the Langstrom biome, and he hits a button that says release, and out of the one on the left, it looks like there's a bunch of vines coming out, and then on the one on the right, it looks like a gigantic bat crawling out. So I feel like I know who's coming next.
But it's very abstract, though, where you just see like sort of like a bit of the wings coming through the darkness. They don't really reveal what they look like yet. So we're kind of, I actually, it took me a second to realize that was representing Ivy, because it was, that previous panel that gave me the hint. Because if you had just given me that visual, I don't think I would have jumped to Ivy, because it looks more like, I don't know, almost like blood vessels or something coming out of the darkness. So I was thinking, is that some like, I don't even know what villain I think that is, but I wouldn't have went straight to Ivy.
No, I went to initially Clayface, right? Because it's so in the front there, and it doesn't seem like plant life. Like you said, it seems a lot more human, like blood vessel kind of vibes. So, but yeah, I really love the take that Snyder's using here with the Bat villains, that they're all these experiments from Arkham, at this point.
Yeah, and then Joker's basically just testing Batman with them, like, send out these two and see how he fares against them, and we'll keep playing with them until it's time to do whatever. But I do love that he's underestimating him, though. He's like, oh, this Batman's not a threat. Like, I do like that, because it'll be very satisfying when he maybe eats those words a little bit at some point down the line. Maybe a while away yet, but it will come.
Yeah, because he also talks about that he's a former patient who, believe it or not, who escaped. And so if he's looking at him also like an experiment, that's pretty dire as well.
Yeah, which obviously we read all that. That was in the story, him being there and escaping.
Yeah, but Joker thinking of him like that, right? This Jack Grimm's like, oh no, he's not Batman. He's just one of my experiments now, and just that thought process. Because
like there was an Arkham now, and the Joker obviously built that land, or bought that land and built this new place, and he'd been doing these arcs. It does suggest he picked that naming convention so that when he got this part of Gotham ready, he could call it Arkham as like a callback to Arkham. As opposed to it being this weird coincidence. Like, it feels like intentional.
No, it feels, like you said, intentional.
Yeah.
And again, I love when Snyder does this historical type stuff too, because it does show that he's thinking through. Like, I fully believe he has a timeline of the absolute universe as far as Batman's concerned, how far back this goes.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and obviously the other thing here is that because like they've established that a lot of the villains already know each other, I'm sure there's a lot of like, I'm sure when they do the writers retreats like a year, 2 years ago probably at this point, and they were mapping a lot of this early stuff out, they were like, okay, this is the backstory to this character. How do we make those like mesh together? Did Grimm always know Veronica Cale, or is that something that happened in the last like 5 or 10 years? What? I'm sure they've got some crazy bullet points all listed somewhere of weird facts.
Yeah. And because you brought up absolute power at the beginning, and that was written by Ewing too, who put out the these villains all knowing each other, being part of like the secret cabal, and now we're seeing that stuff kind of spin out in some of the other absolute books. And so here it still feels like Snyder has his own corner, right? Like, we saw Jack Grimm show up in Absolute Wonder Woman because of the crossover and stuff, but he still feels like his own, like he's his own threat. Like, as much as he's part of that cabal, he's still doing his own thing in comparison with the rest of them, and that to me makes him a lot scarier, right? Like,
yeah. Well, I think what's neat though is that the experience of reading these as they're coming out is that felt very like, they had that little moment in that Wonder Woman issue just a few weeks ago, and then you read this and it feels like they're all serving to like tease each other's books in a way where it does feel like this coherent thing that's happening through at least the ones that have intermingled a little bit so far, and I'm sure that's only going to get better as like they start crossing over Flash and Green Lantern into some of these other ones and whatever else we're doing. And
when we get to Absolute Superman, there's some stuff that popped up from Absolute Power that pops up in Absolute Superman, and and that's Ewing and Jason Aaron, and I know they worked together previously at Marvel on stuff, right? So just knowing that there's trust in communication, right? It does feel like this event that is unfolding before our eyes, without hitting us over the head, and that kind of like KO is,
Yeah. No. I wasn't, I think, particularly familiar with Josh Hickson as an artist. I think the art in here's solid. I think it does a pretty good job. I mean, it doesn't really feel like anything that's been the regular Absolute Batman book, but that's kind of okay because it's all like backstory stuff anyway. It's meant to feel like a period piece, and it kind of nails that different style. But perhaps the most effective stuff is the kind of the horror side of it, which is like just how creepy Jack Doe looks at various points when he's sort of smiling behind his hair and all that kind of stuff. That stuff's pretty effective. So.
And then the smile of Jack Grimm as he's watching the asylum burn, right? Like that's heavy inks. It's almost Albuquerque-esque, with the heavy shadows and the orange and the purple and all that type of stuff. So
yeah, well, it's also like they really emphasized in that last Batman issue. I think it was the last one we got the backstory of Jack Grimm. That he only laughs when he's like testing or doing something horrific to people, because that's the whole thing. He's the man who does not laugh. But that issue revealed no, he does laugh, but he only laughs at kind of these worst possible, most grotesque points when he's doing something really bad to someone. So the idea that he's laughing or smiling as he's watching Arkham Asylum burn is really good, because it pays that off, because we've already set up how much of a big deal that is. But also it makes you sort of think about it, like, is this that dark? And it kind of is. He came back to this place decades later to slowly reveal to this man that everything he thought about this kid that he thought died was wrong, and that the kid that he had in his like protege was actually the most dangerous patient he had. And like he had this all come out to him, and then he dies in a fire on his own. Like he's smiling at his handiwork here, and it is very eerie. So it's very effective.
No, for sure. There's that sense of hopelessness there, where when he realizes what it is, and Snyder gives it enough time too. There's a bunch of pages in between Arkham finding this out and us finding it out, and the suspense is all there. And then when you realize, like, oh no, the kid killed Jack Doe, and he made it off, and he might be the one that was Jack the Ripper this whole time. There's just this utter hopelessness for. I
think that is the
Arkham.
implication, is that Grimm was, because they even said that in the Absolute Batman issue, right? That was like something that was put forward, is that he might just straight up be Jack the Ripper.
Okay, that's something I forgot. So I'm not, but yeah. So, and it all plays in with that too, with the kid that started off on the streets, and again, he shows up covered in blood. And when you have the context that this is the guy that makes it out and becomes Jack Grimm, you're just like, oh my lord, what happened?
Yeah, because
what did he do?
They read it as, oh, this poor child needs help. Look at him, he's covered in blood. But then in the hindsight, you're like, oh yeah, who did he stab repeatedly to get this much blood on him? Yeah, that's what it feels like now. So that continues to be a dark, fun time. I'm liking the build here. There's something really nice about this entire universe, which feels like they've put a lot of thought into planning it, because it's not something that has to go on forever necessarily. I'm sure they'll keep going for as long as it's successful, but right now it still feels that we're still very much in that era of like, no, they've mapped a lot of this out, and it's all clicking really well so far. So good stuff. What are you giving Absolute Batman Arc M Special?
I'm going to give this a straight 8.
I'm going a bit higher than that, I think. 8.5 for sure. I could be tempted by the 9. I'll go 8.5. I think I'm just holding back a little bit, because I think there's if I'm compared to the Absolute Power, which was like a 9.5, I'm going to say this is an 8.5. But no, very good. I enjoyed it a lot.